Are you ready to feel like a dragon tonight? Because, hello, welcome back to the James Rambling Reviews for yet another episode. In today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing for you the Like a Dragon Yakuza Amazon series, where we have 3 episodes that just came out a few days ago, and I've had that time to really process how I felt about them. But before we get into this, I actually am on my second or third recording because I realised a lot of the stuff I was saying, it's just a point went great. So in this video, I'm going to try again and really just, really give it my all this time, okay? So there's that. So outside of that, really, I have actually tried to do my little Kazuma Kiryu cosplay here, where I've got that grey zipper thing going on and the red, because he wears that a lot in the games. So just so you understand, I am really, really into the Yakuza franchise. I have played every game more than once, except from the past couple of releases, like a Dragon Gaiden I haven't replayed yet, or like a Dragon Infinite Wealth I haven't replayed yet. Other than that, I have played all the games maybe 2, 3 times, give or take, because I just really enjoy the series. And I'm not going to go too into that, because when it came to the trailers for this for the new Yakuza Like a Dragon Yakuza series, I was like, this looks interesting. And as somebody who did some research into the Like a Dragon Yakuza or the Like a Dragon Takashi Mike movie, the 2 hour movie that everyone hates, but it's actually quite entertaining, that one, and I will link down below my review of that movie, because as build up for this Like a Dragon Yakuza thing, I decided to go back and watch that just for some research purposes. So there's that. So yeah, you know that I am a big fan of the Yakuza franchise. So what is the plot of Like a Dragon Yakuza? So what kind of happens here without spoiling it, because we'll do the rating out of 10 and stuff like that as well. But pretty much what you have here is that you've got Kiryu, right? My main character, Kazuma Kiryu, and what he's trying to do, he's trying to become the Dragon of Dojima. He wants to become the Dragon of Dojima, just like he wants to become Dragon of Dojima in the game. But then they do take things from the game, but then they change things around as well, so that everything feels a bit different. The tone feels different. The characters look different. Everything is pretty much different. That, like, if you go back and you play a Yakuza game out of random habit, and then you go and watch this series, yeah, there is a lot of things they change in the series. So that is the best way I can describe the plot. And so yeah, you kind of have that where you have different things going on with it. So now let's get into how I feel about the series as a whole, or the first 3 episodes they've dropped. And so for me personally, I was close to really just not caring about reviewing this, because the first episode, I'm not gonna lie, it is not my favourite of the bunch, because yeah, it sets up things to come really, but it just takes a lot of time to get going, and there's a lot of bits where there's just characters talking to each other and having bits of dialogue, and yeah, the Yakuza games, they do start off slow. They absolutely start off slow, and then you'll have something happening later, but with the series, it just doesn't fit properly, I don't think. And it's like, there's times in the Yakuza games where the dialogue is drawn out and there's a lot of talking, and then later on you're like, yeah, okay, the dialogue's kind of interesting, kind of fun. But here, it's just kind of like, yeah, they're just talking away and just keep on talking and keep on talking. And then, in the last, I want to say, is it 10 to 15 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, you do have this really cool action scene where Kiryu's actually fighting Yakuza members, and they do kind of represent what would happen in the games normally. And so there's that. And the choice to make Kiryu a lot less stoic and a lot less like charming, humble, enthusiastic, and more of a guy that's kind of depressed, and he's kind of skinny, and he's just like, oh, I've got to get through life. Oh, the Yakuza, the corrupt businessmen, the loan sharks, oh yeah, that. It's like, okay, that's a bit weird. And then they change Nishiki up, and he looks a little bit different from how he would act in the games. because he's acting a lot different. He's a lot more happy and a lot more laid back. And without spoiling, there is moments where Kiryu and Nishiki are just best friends and singing and like not singing and dancing, but they're just kind of smiling, walking around the streets together and stuff like that. So there's elements of that there. But once you get past episode 1, I feel like this series, it does actually get a lot more interesting. It does actually get a lot more entertaining. And that is because, right, you have a lot more crazy, dramatic shenanigans that are happening in episode 2. There's a little bit more action, and there's a little bit more stuff kind of happening. And then episode 3 does that kind of similar thing. And they do change those things, a lot of things from the game. But what really does shine here is what I forgot to mention is actually also the production value is actually not that bad, because the way that everyone's shot, the city of Kamurocho, when you watch this series, you can actually feel like you're walking into a city. You can see people walking around. You can see people, acting crazy and stuff like that. So they definitely nail the atmosphere and the environment. But then there's these really shocking twists and really shocking turns, especially when they do stuff with Majima that I wasn't expecting in episode 2 and also episode 3. And so there's a lot of that stuff there, right? So what else is there to enjoy about the show, really? Well, I guess that is what I'll only say, because, right, just to kind of recap here, I do think the episode 1 wasn't really the best. So out of 10, episode 1's like a 6 out of 10. I was like, oof, is anything gonna be this good? And then episode 2 rolls around and you have a lot more. There's a few more things that happen. And then I'd give that like a 7 or 8 out of 10. And episode 2 I'd give about a 7 or 8 out of 10 as well. I'll be honest here that it isn't the most perfect series, but it is enjoyable. And I can still appreciate that they change things from the games, and every character has their own interpretation and they have an own little way of doing it. But I did watch some reviews of this series where I was so confused as to what they were talking about, because this is meant to be a dramatic series. It's meant to be like, oh, it's really serious and really grounded. But there are scenes with Majima. There are scenes with some of the corrupt Yakuza. One of the foreigners called Edgar in episode 2, and I won't spoil stuff like that. But just as an example, there is actually some funny, really funny bits in episodes. So while it's trying to go for that bleak tone, there is still the silly wackiness that you'd expect from the Yakuza games, especially when there was these couple of scenes with broken English, and there was even like Kiryu's dad speaking broken English in one of the scenes as well. So to say that this was a dramatic thing, like, no, it's not a fully serious series. It's trying to be, but there's times where it takes away from that, and then it tries to kind of be the silly wackiness without having the CGI and everything like that. So it's definitely more of a different version from the Like a Dragon movie, where you did have special effects that were actually kind of silly and kind of fun, and this is a different thing altogether. So yeah, overall, really, what a surprising, what an interesting series this was. And so I will cover episodes 4 through 6, do the same, watch one a night. So that is my review. I have tried to record this a few times, but this is just going to be how it's going to be. This is my review, and I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more reviews like this. Bye.